now that you kind of saw the difference between the two, you're wondering, okay, which of the two should I invest in, right? I guess a quick answer is going to be, if your employer offers a 401k with company match, then you want to match up to the maximum amount because that's free money again. That's 100% return. You're going to want to do that. And then once you've hit that that cap of what they're willing to match, then you go and max your IRA. I would say Roth IRA. And then if you still want to invest more money after that, then you go back to your 401k. But if your employer does not offer a company match, then skip the 401k entirely. Start with the Roth or a Roth 401k. So that's what I think you should do if you're still kind of unclear where you want to go. Again, that's kind of really high level overview, and I think you should take this information with a grain of salt. And but I would say these are pretty safe bets to do if you're still getting started. Okay. And by the way, on an IRA, what it stands for is an individual retirement account. You open these at banks, at mutual fund places, anywhere you go, and you can open an account. I know I have, me personally, one. I opened one with Chase, and that's what I used to invest in the stock market. Okay. Another retirement account, not really a retirement account, but another account that's kind of rarely talked about, but it's really good to know about, is a health savings account. What an HSA is, it's like a personal savings account, but it can only be used for qualified healthcare expenses. And so to be eligible to contribute to an HSA, you first must be enrolled in what's called a high deductible health plan, HDHP. These accounts also have some really great important tax advantages, right? So at my work, I am enrolled in a high deductible health plan and contribute to this HSA. Going over some of the pros, which are pretty extensive, and the first one is that many expenses qualify, right? So there's a wide range of medical, dental, and even mental health services that you could pay for with funds that you've put into your HSA. Second is that any others can contribute to your HSA. It doesn't have to come always from you. It can come from some employers will also match up to a certain dollar amount. I think at my job they're willing to contribute $400 a year annually to it, so I take advantage of that. Yeah, you're not the only one who can contribute to it. But like I said, there is a limit though of how much you can contribute, and in 2020 that limit was $3,550 a year. And then so the third one is the pre-tax contributions. Again, any money that you put into this account, you're going to deposit without paying Uncle Sam. So essentially this is a way to avoid paying taxes if you're putting money into this account. Again, these purchases must be for medical expenses. So any money that you put into this account, they have to be used for medical expenses, which is great. Though me personally, I had 2 surgeries recently. I had corrective surgery on my feet, and I paid for them with my HSA account. Another thing is that they lower your taxable income. Again, any contributions made, you could use that as a way to lower how much money, or potentially lower your tax bracket. So if you are pretty close to the borders on the tax brackets, then if this will put you under, it could potentially save you money there. Tax-free withdrawals. Again, anytime you pay for a qualified expense, you don't have to pay taxes on that money again. So pre-tax contributions, you pay no tax going in, and you pay for qualified expenses, you pay no taxes on that either. And then some of these accounts also earn interest, right? And any interest you earn on that money is tax-free as well. So another great pro. And then there's also annual rollover. So every year there's another health account. I forgot what it's called. It's like FSA or something. I forgot the name of it. It's slipping from my mind right now. But essentially, those funds are use it or lose it, right? So whatever money you contribute to that account, if you don't use it by the end of the year, you lose it. It's not the case with HSA. Every year, any money that's left over in this account will roll over to the next one, which is pretty awesome. And then it's portable, right? So the money in your HSA remains available for future qualified medical expenses, even if you change health insurance plans or go to work for a different employer or even retire, so which is pretty awesome. And then lastly is convenience. If you sign up for an HSA, a lot of them will send you a debit card, and you'll be able to use that. So here's mine. I have Flex today. This is the debit card that they sent me, and this is what I use to pay for my medical expenses. So it's pretty cool and convenient to have that. All right, so let's look at some of the cons with this. There are quite a few, but I mean, the benefits I would say far outweigh the cons. The first is that it is a high deductible requirement, right? So what that means is you have to be, again, enrolled in that HP, high deductible plan. And so that means that any expenses that you have to pay for, if you have to go to the doctor, get some meds or whatever, and your insurance doesn't cover it, then you're required yourself to first cover the charges up to a certain amount, usually $2,000. So if I go to the doctor, let's say ER, and it's January 1st, I just started a new year, I start out with 0% or $0 paid towards my deductible, right? And if I go to the hospital, the ER, and I get charged $1,000, that $1,000 has to come from my HSA account before insurance will kick in and pay for it. So insurance will not cover expenses typically after you've paid $2,000. And then it goes all the way up to $3,000 after certain expenses are covered. You'd have to go through your particular HSA account to see the details, but it's usually $2,000, and that's the minimum you have to pay. So if you're not putting any money into this account and you've enrolled in it, then that's where you can kind of get into trouble there, which is why there's a pressure to save, right? So some people are reluctant to seek healthcare because when they need it and they haven't been putting money into their account, then that's when they get in trouble. And third is taxes and penalties. If you withdraw these funds for non-qualified expenses, if you use this to buy an iPhone, then you're going to get in trouble, right? Because that's not what it was set aside for. That's not why you were avoided paying taxes for it. So make sure you're using these funds for the appropriate expenses. Okay. Next one is record keeping. It's kind of a pain in the butt because you have to keep receipts, right? So if you get audited, if they kind of want to see like, okay, you charge all these expenses to your HSA account, but now I need to see proof that these withdrawals are actually for qualified purchases, then you need to keep those receipts and show that you actually did use those funds to make those purchases for medical expenses. And then, of course, there's some fees. Some HSAs charge a monthly maintenance fee, just like they would like at banks. If you open an account, checking or savings, if you don't, just like a fee to maintain it, especially if you don't keep a certain amount. But of course, if you keep, let's say over 2,000, like at Chase, they'll waive that maintenance fee. It's like $12 a month or something. It's the same thing with HSA. As long as you have a minimum balance, whatever that is set by that company, then a lot of times they'll waive that fee. Cool. So that's pretty much the summary of the IRA, HSA, 401k. But yeah, these are all pretty cool tools that you can use, especially the Roth 401k. Like I said, you can withdraw your contributions tax-free and penalty-free. So essentially, if you're contributing to those every year, you're kind of forcing yourself to save, right? So let's say you have enough to pull the money out and use it to purchase a house or do some sort of investment with it. That's one way that you could take advantage of that and get over that that doubt in yourself that I'll never have enough money to do this or do that. So very cool. But if you're still doubtful, if you're still not convinced that contributing to a retirement account is a good idea, then I'd like to talk to you about the power of compounding interest, right? So compound interest, pretty awesome. It's interest calculated on the initial principal, which also includes all the accumulated interest from previous periods, right? So that sounds like jargon, but it's easier to understand if you just say it's interest made on your interest, right? So, if you, let's say the first year you have $1,000 in your retirement account and they pay you 5% interest, the first year you'll have $1,000 and then 5%, so $1,050 because that's 5%. And then the next year, they're not going to pay you interest on the original $1,000, but instead it's going to be $1,050. And so you can see how that's going to start snowballing. The longer you wait, or the longer you invest and the longer you let that money compound interest, then you'll see super sharp increases in the amount of money that you're building. So here's a quick little picture on an example, right? So this guy here, the saver number 1 on the left, he started saving at age 25. He saved for 10 years, and every year he contributed $3,000 to his account. At the end of 10 years, his total contributions were $30,000, assuming a 7% annual return, which is pretty average for like the stock market. If you invest in what are called mutual funds are pretty much, or index funds are kind of, you invest in like the top 500 companies. There's a bunch of different ones out there, but they generally return 7% annually. So after 10 years, he invested $3,000 a year. By 35, he's going to have invested $30,000, right? But he stops when he's 35, and fast forward to by the time he's 65 years old, he has in that account $338,000, which is a lot more than he started with, right? Which was $30,000. So now let's look at saver number 2. So saver number 2 started at age 35, 10 years later. Okay, but he didn't save for 10 years. He saved 3 times longer. He saved for 30 years. Okay, and he put the same contributions every year, $3,000, but he didn't invest $30,000 at the end of 10 years because he did it for 30. So he ended up investing $90,000. See that? So by the time he's 65, 30 years later, assuming that same 7% return, he only has $303,000, compared to saver number 1, who only invested a third of the time, a third of the duration at 10 years. But because he started earlier and he left that money in there longer, that money happened to compound exponentially, and he had a lot more money saved come retirement. So that really just emphasizes the importance of starting early in your retirement, and make sure you contribute at least, like I said, whatever the company match is. Put that money in the 401k and just let compound interest work for you, because it will. If you just follow this one step, and contribute, you'll be a millionaire when you retire. Let's talk about what are the next steps that you can take. Dave Ramsey, he's a big financial guy. He has 7 baby steps that you can do to start building wealth. Number 1 is that the first thing you should do is save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. Okay, so that's the very first thing you should do. Keep $1,000 in the bank in the savings account just in case there's an emergency. Okay. Number 2 is you pay off all your debt except your house. Okay, that includes credit cards, car payments, student loans, all of your debt. Pay that off except your house. Baby step number 3 is you improve your emergency fund. Instead of $1,000, you need to buffer it to 3 to 6 months of expenses. Just in case you happen to lose a job, you don't have to stress about that. You don't have to put all your charges on credit cards. It's just good to have that in place. Then number 4, you start investing 15% of your household income in retirement. Then number 5, save for children's college fund. Number 6, you pay off your home early. And number 7, build wealth and give. For me personally, I would say number 1 through 4 are most important. 5, 6, and 7, up to your discretion. There's different ways. Some people don't really agree with those steps. At least 5 and 6 particularly, not 7. 5 and 6 are where you can have some wiggle room there. I want to kind of talk a little bit more about baby step number 2 of paying off your debt, and share 2 common strategies when paying off debt. Okay, so the first one is the Snowball Method, right? And what it is and how it works is, what you want to do is take a look at all of your debts, put them in order from the lowest to highest. Okay, so on the smallest amount that you owe to the highest amount. Okay, and what you do is you pay the lowest amount first, pay that account off, and once you've done that, you take whatever money that you were putting into that, and then you roll it into the next one. Oh, I forgot to mention that these other ones, the other accounts that are not the smallest, you just pay the minimum, right? So you pay the minimum on all of those except the smallest one. So you pay that off as quickly as possible. Once you do that, you roll over those funds into the next one. Okay, so the second one, you pay as much as you can into that. The rest of them you pay minimum. Once you've paid that one off, again, you just rinse and repeat. right? So that's kind of where the snowball comes in. And then the other method is called the debt avalanche. And this is the method I personally used. Like I said, when I bought my house, I had acquired $20,000 of debt back in 2018. And I managed to pay that off using this method earlier this year. So I managed to finally pay that off. Happy to say that. But I use this method, the debt avalanche, and what it is, it's a little harder to use, but instead of arranging your debts from lowest to biggest, you arrange them by how much interest each loan is costing you. So, if a credit card is charging you 20% interest, but your student loan only has 5%, you want to pay those credit cards first. So you pay your highest interest charging ones first, and then you work your way down. So what are some things that you can do now? Start, getting the ball rolling on this stuff. You can do things like read books, listen to podcasts, network with people who are doing what you want to do, whether that's, investing in real estate, which is my personal strategy that I'm pursuing right now. Whether that's investing in the stock market, opening a business, you just got to network with the people who are doing what you want to do. Surround yourself with those people. I'm sure some of you have heard that you are the 5 closest people to you. So, take a look. You have to really assess and be aware of who you're spending your time with, because those people are going to have the greatest influence on you. So if you're surrounding yourself with people who are doing things you want to do, it's only going to work out better for you. Another thing is to watch YouTube videos. YouTube is a great resource to learn about anything these days. You can read articles and forum posts. And most importantly is that you got to start doing, just get out there, start doing what you want to do. That way, you learn best by doing. And the best way to start doing actually is by creating some goals for you, creating some goals for yourself. This guy here in the photo, his name is Brandon Turner. He's a big real estate investor, and he puts out all these tips all the time. And I really like this one that he put on his Instagram page. It's 6 steps on how to get everything you want. And step number 1 is you define your 3-year vision. Step number 2, you set your 1-year goal. 3, establish a 90-day benchmark, right? So like, how are you going to measure how far along you've gotten towards that goal? And then you got to create a weekly battle plan, execute daily, and adjust as needed. I think these are really powerful steps that you can start taking to acquire or reach whatever goal it is you're trying to reach in life, right? So you just got to start goal setting, start journaling and taking data points of where this is going. We're almost towards the end here. The last couple slides. Recommended materials. These are some materials that I really recommend. I have some here. Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you haven't read this is a complete game changer. Get yourself a copy of this. It's a super simple read. Brandon Turner's, he's part of a podcast called Bigger Pockets, and at the end of the podcast, they ask their guests what are their favorite real estate book and investment book or business book. This book is by far the most mentioned, so definitely grab a copy. And if you're interested in, he's also an author, so if you're interested in real estate investing, this book here, the book on investing in real estate with no and low money down, pick these 2 up. They will change your life. The E-Myth is if you are more towards like business oriented, if you want to open a business, then definitely the E-Myth is a must read. The biggest takeaway from that is you need to work on your business, not in your business, right? A lot of people get into trouble with businesses, right? Because they think they know how to do something, whether let's say they're a software engineer and they know how programs work really well, so they decide to open their own company, but they have no idea how to run a company, right? So the biggest takeaway is that you need to know how to work on your business and not just be an employee. The Compound Effect is also one on habit buildings. Those are my personal favorites. And then these are some other podcasts and YouTube people that I follow, and so does Eddie. So definitely worth to check out. I started a website for myself on my real estate journey. So if you're interested in following my journey along in real estate investing, you can go check this website out. It's just brand new. I just started it, but it's where I'm going to be writing blogs of my investment career or path and see how that goes. To wrap things up, I want to give you guys 5 key takeaways from this whole workshop. I know it's almost 2 hours, but there's a lot of information in here. And I think the 5 biggest takeaways are: number 1, never miss a payment. Number 2, use credit cards mindfully. Number 3, automate and stay on top of your financial health. Number 4, know the difference between an asset and a liability, and buy assets. And number 5, start ASAP. You know, that power of compound interest. Like you saw in that example, the guy who invested for 10 years as opposed to 30. The sooner you start, the better you're going to be off. Okay. So, and before you know it, you'll be like Scrooge McDuck, you know, having your own your own gold piles to be swimming through and skiing through. So, you know, good luck with you guys on everything and on your financial journey. Wish you guys the best. One last thing, if there are any people who are interested in getting more involved, make sure you reach out to myself, Eddie, or anyone on the MAES page. You don't need to be in the LA area to get involved. Just let us know. All right, with that, are there any questions?
Hi, this is, I have a comment. This is
Sure.
Jeff Salinas. I'm with the MAES National Board. I want to thank you guys for putting on this workshop. It was great. Like, you guys did an awesome job. I think the content was amazing. I wish when I was a college student that somebody had given me a workshop like this, right? And even as a young professional. So I think you guys covered a lot.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of our members, myself included, we had to learn this stuff on our own, right? And I'm sure you guys as well had to pick some of this stuff up on your own. So I commend you guys for doing this for the organization and for your members, and for the people that are attending. I don't know if is it a mix of professional and students that are on the call?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's a few students on here as well as some professionals.
Okay, that's great. I mean, the fact that you guys took the time out to put this together, and the people that are attending, it's 2 hours, like you said, it's a long time, right?
Yeah.
But it is 2 hours probably well spent. All really good advice. I think everybody should be commended for hosting this and for attending. And, a lot of our chapters are doing work like this. And so thanks you guys for posting this. And when you have future events, just let us know. Like, I would definitely want to promote this to other professional chapters and student chapters. And same thing, when they have, workshops like this as well on different topics, I think it's just a great idea to kind of share, right? And I think that, Zoom and the fact that this is kind of part of our new reality of having to do these things remotely now, I think is going to be very powerful, and will help the organization. So thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, like you said, I know this was a long session, but our goal was to cover the very basics of finances and how to improve your financial literacy. And the last module, maybe that didn't need to be included, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of inspiration of how you can get to where you want to be. So hopefully you guys took something away from this workshop. If there's anything that you guys want to see in the future related to finances or investing, please let us know. Reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram, or send me a email. So if there are no questions, I want to thank all of you guys for coming.
I just want to add that if there's anything here that's still not clear, anything, reach out to us, but also YouTube, Google. And I know it's not the most interesting conversation or topics, learning about some of these things, but if you put in the time, you'll be really glad that you did 20 years down the line when you see your money compounding and growing and you're just at a restaurant chilling or whatever.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Some people, I know it's hard for certain individuals to talk about money because it can kind of seem like a taboo topic, right? But I think it's really important that it's something that's discussed. Like I said, going back to that whole financial literacy month, like no one knows about that, I think that's a problem. So definitely, I think it's important to discuss this with friends, colleagues, family, or whatever, get yourself situated to be in a better place. So if you guys don't have any questions, I just want to say thank you guys for attending. I know it was a long one, but I hope you guys took something away from it.